Do you have loved ones that have health issues or elderly, single, and need help? Well, if this is somebody that you know, maybe someone comes to your mind, a friend, family member, however, uh, this video is going to help them and more or less you to figure out what you need to do to keep their phone system running during an emergency, whether it's just a power outage or it's a storm that knocked out things. Um, I have a friend, and I help her all the time with all her equipment, her computers, her phones, different things like that. And one day she and I were talking, and she said, I can't stand these phones. Every time the power goes off, the phone messes up, my computer goes haywire. I'm sick of this stuff, and she's always getting upset over this modern technology. And I said to her, Carol, what you need is an uninterruptible power supply. And I told her what it was all about, and I said, you need to have your telephones hooked up to this, your computer hooked up to this, to just stop all this turmoil with your telephone and your computer. Because what it does is that it has a battery inside. It's like a power strip. And then when the power goes off your grid, the unit takes over with the battery and powers up whatever's on your battery backup. So she had an idea of what that was all about, and I told her I had one, and I let her have it. And then one day I call her up, and she says to me, she goes, I had the weirdest thing happen to me. I asked her what, and she goes, I was on the phone, and the power went out, and I was still on the telephone. Why was my phone still on if there's no electricity in the house? And I said to her, Carol, don't you remember I put a uninterruptible power supply on your telephone? She goes, oh, well, that's why. I said, yeah. I said, so that's why you're able to run without electricity. So she was really impressed that she was able to stay online. Now, what happens if she didn't have that and she had a power outage and all of a sudden she had a health crisis that she needed to call 911 because she has her medical call alert device hooked up to it, her modem, and her computer. So if the power went out, none of that stuff would have worked unless she had an uninterruptible power supply, which now she does. And I found out just a couple of days ago from another friend that's a friend of hers that she had a heart attack. And, if the power went out and she had a heart attack, she wouldn't have been able to call 911. I'm calling this video Emergency Phone Systems for Senior Citizens. And it's not just for senior citizens, it's for anybody. I mean, I've had this stuff set up in my home for a good long time. So I've got two uninterruptible power supply systems here on my table. And I'm going to give you kind of a brief overview of what each one does, the features that are on these things, so that you can decide which ones you want the most. Now, the APC brand is the first one I'm going to show you, and that one's not nearly as feature-rich as my Trip Lite backup system, which has 900 watts and has an LCD display on it. So let me show you those things now. This APC brand uninterruptible power supply. This is 330 watts, which is pretty small for my kind of a setup. And I haven't really had much use for these. So I also have over here a Trip Lite uninterruptible power supply, which has an LCD screen. Now, this one can actually run longer, run more, than the APC. Now this one was a cheaper unit. This was really expensive over here. So what are the features on these things? So basically you've got, on both units, you've got one section of receptacles that has battery backup. Now the other set of receptacles is just surge. So basically what that happens is that even though the power goes out, these things will go off, just like your receptacle in your home. These receptacles right here will stay on. So I tell people, trying to explain to them what these things are. These are just a very advanced power strip. It's not really a power strip, but it has a battery underneath. So on the side of this thing, and the other one is on the back. Let me show you. Let me get down here a little bit easier so I can sit down here. So there is an Ethernet jack. It looks like maybe a telephone port. It also has a USB slot. So it's kind of hard to see this thing because this is black. Maybe you can see it better on your computer screen here, but I don't know. I'm having a hard time seeing it in my viewfinder. But so just trust me, if you can't see it too well, this is a USB port. Here's an Ethernet. Now this might, I'm not sure. I can't. This might be two Ethernets. I don't know. Let me see here. Let me see if I can get down there closer. Well, it doesn't really tell me what the jacks are, but it looks like they're two Ethernet. But there should be one telephone jack. And what these will do for you is that they're surge, so that anything that's coming in on your Ethernet or phone, I think this is very limited. I think this just might be Ethernet. It's just one in and one out. So yeah, it's not a very advanced system. But anyways, we're going to get on to my bigger one. This is the one I like the most because it has a display. It tells you your voltage. You can push it once, and it gives you the kilohertz. It gives you, let's see, let me push it again. It gives you the percentage, which don't understand really about that. It gives you the wattage, and then you just keep going for it, and then it sends you right back to the voltage meter. Basically, this display shows you that you're online. When you're off, it will go back and it shows you your battery is fully recharged, and it gives you a load meter. Now, this one over here, the APC, has nothing of that sort. You cannot tell what the system is doing, whether it's on battery or it's on grid power. Let me show you what the other one looks like in the back. Well, I guess this one is just basically the same. It has just the RJ45, which is network. So I was wrong about that, but it does have a few more things, but it has the same thing over here as the APC brand. It has your surge protection circuit, basically just like the APC, and then over here it has your battery backup. So whatever's plugged into this side will be protected by the battery. Has a cooling fan for the inverter. Has a UPS port, or USB port for your computer. Now, what do these USB ports, if you're asking, what do they do? Now, basically what this thing does is that it comes with software. You plug it into your computer. This system, the software that's installed on your PC, will shut your PC down before it's too late, before this battery runs out of your uninterruptible power supply. Now for phones, that isn't going to work too well, but for lights, I've got the same system on lights, other things in my home besides phones. I bought these over the APC ones just because of the wattage. Now let's give some real life scenarios here. what happens if the power goes out of your home? What is your elderly family members, friends going to do? Now, if they have one of these installed, they have nothing to worry about. Let me show you that now. I'm going to unplug the APC. I don't have anything plugged into my trip light backup system, but the APC will just do just fine for my test. So I'm going to take this plug out of the receptacle. Now that starts beeping rapidly. Now that's going to continue to beep every so often during a power failure. Now this light is still running with on the backup system. So every unit, now that's one thing that this unit does not have compared to the trip light, is that the APC has no way to mute that annoying beeping sound. This one here, that one's going to continue to do that as long as it's on backup. Now this button right here that I kept hitting, it also says mute. So if I push that, it's going to mute this system, so it will not beep at all. So now it shows you that that system is muted for the battery. So you won't have to listen to that thing honk during a power outage. Now yes, that was just a unplugged test from my receptacle. But what happens if I pull the circuit breaker and shut that down in my breaker panel? What happens then? I'm going to simulate a power outage whole house wide, and we'll see what happens. Now these are two uninterruptible power supplies in front of my breaker panel. Now this one is a small, I mean it's still 900 watts, but what I'm saying is that I'm running smaller loads with this one. This one over here is my lighting system. So I've got all my lights attached to it in the house. And it says that right now the only lights that are running in the house are these basement lights. So it's saying I'm having 162 watts of usage from these lights. So if I come up over here and just pull the breaker, now you can hear these things come on. And you hear all that other racket in here? And you see here that everything will stay on. All the computers, networking, lights, and even my telephone. So what happens if I make a call? So I'm going to call my own home. Let's see here.
Pushing technology to the limit. Please dial 100 for Tony. 11.
Now I can just go and get out of that because it'll go right to the answer machine. If I don't dial extension, it'll just go to the answer machine. But I just wanted to show you that actually does work. So when the power comes back on, so there, I finally turned the main breaker back on in our home, and everything resumes as normal. So that's basically backing up your phone system in a nutshell. Now, backup systems are good for just about anything and everything that you can plug into the thing. So it's just not for phones. Originally, and what they sell them for is a computer backup. And that's what these things are. But it's not just for that, and that's what people do not understand, is that you can plug anything within the limitation of that uninterruptible power supply. That if you have 900 watts, you can plug in things up to 900 watts. If you have a 330 watt UPS, then you can only plug in things up to 330 watts. So you can basically run, like what I've done is I've got LED lights in the entire house on one of these honorable power supplies, as you saw earlier in the movie. And really, when it comes right down to it, is it worth uh, your life? I mean, this is life or death. Uh, if you have an emergency, uh, you need to make a phone call, or that person needs to call that, push that I've fallen down button box on them to get help. Uh, would you rather have your loved one lay there on the floor in pain because they can't call 911 or push that emergency button that they've got? Of course not. You want to make sure that they're safe and secure. Well, these will do it. Now, I do have a generator. Now, that is a little bit overboard for some people because they don't have an awful lot to back up. I mean, yes, a refrigerator would be good, but the older folks don't really have that capability of doing all that, and especially if they're ill, they are not going to care. And it's just kind of dawned on me. It's just like, why not have everything backed up? And I mainly just started with computers, backing them up, because every time that there was a brownout, the computer would go down, or I'd lose something, or the computer would act squirrely, and I had to fix it. Well, these stop all that, but it's just not just for computers. You can plug TVs, like I've been showing you. So in the long run, it's a good thing to have one of these, and you don't need the most expensive one out there if you're just going to do phones. All you need to have is the 330 watt unit to plug on your telephone system so that your modem and your Wi-Fi phone can go in there. And if you just have a regular landline phone that plugs into your modem, well, then you don't need power for your phone. You just need power for your modem. And once that's done, the person can just forget about it and walk away. And that's the other great thing, is that you do not need to know anything about computers to be able to install one of these. If you can plug your TV set into your wall, if you can plug your computer, your telephone, you can do all that sort of stuff by yourself. You can buy one of these, install it yourself. And better yet, if you're young and capable of doing it for somebody that's older, I suggest that you get one for them and install it for them and let them be and let them live. And then be a peace of mind for you that they can call out during an emergency. Now, of course, if we have a natural emergency where it knocks down everything like power, communication lines, and cell towers, and there's nothing that another power supply can do for you or anybody. But at least during one of those times like that, you can have lights set up on it so that your elderly family member, friend, can go to the bathroom without tripping or having to fall down looking for the flashlight that they forgot where they put it. It's just all around security. So, in the long run, it's a good investment. Now, I'm going to give you the old prices that I've paid for one of these, but now I've noticed that they've gone up, and they fluctuate from year to year, day to day, and month to month. I've paid about $200 for the 900 watt power supply, honorable power supply, and I paid about 60 for the 330 watt APC backup. But now I've noticed that as doing this video, that they have gone up in price. But it's up to you whether you want to help your friends or family members out. I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there that would want to do this. So if you know somebody, please pass this video along to them. Share it on Facebook. If you need a little extra help, you can give me a call. You can find me on Facebook. I'll throw up my number temporarily so you can see it, and then you can ask me for some advice. But I'm mainly just helping my local friends and family out around where I live. I really can't go too far outside of my hometown. But anyways, I will see you the next time pushing technology limit, and you have a great day and stay safe during those emergencies. Adios for now.